We made it. We're in Penn Station, on our way to Brooklyn. It's happening. Is this thing on? Is this on? Hi. All right. This is Michael. We're backstage, a rough trade. Here's some flowers. I'm gonna flip it, and boom. Here you go. We're backstage. Here's the ukulele. Here's an art book. Here's a vinyl. And here's me having forgotten to send you the text, but we started. You can literally just say, now live from Rough Trade. At Rough Trade NYC. We're gonna cross-post this stream to Twitter. And I already told Twitter to be following me on Instagram and that I was going live, so that should work. And then just post to Facebook. We're happening. We're happening. Ready? If you have any questions, Michael is probably reading your comments, so if things look weird or sound weird, tell him.
Yes.
You're a beautiful operator. Michael, your operator, wearing an awesome t-shirt.
Repping the merch.
And there's Haley, also here to help. And we're gonna fucking do this. Everybody, happy Sunday. Have some flowers. Woo! Would you like some death with your flowers? I got you. Actually, this is the first time. Let me just show you guys this close up because you won't really be able to see it on stage.
Oh, under here. Here.
Light. Here is, in the light, this is the art book. This is the soft cover copy of the art book. It's about the size of a vinyl record, and it's fucking beautiful. Look at this book. I'll flip through a little bit of it for you. Table of contents. Sumptuous photography by Conan Zalesnik. And there's lots and lots of writing, as you can see. There's a really, really long introduction. And then, oops, sorry, boobs. There's a gorgeous spread. This photograph would not have happened without Michael, who introduced me to the photographer, Stephanie Zakas, who took this in Iceland. This is the passage I'm going to read from on stage. This photography is by Alan Amato. This is the same photo shoot as the cover image on the album. And you get the picture. It's fucking gorgeous. There's Ash. Ash is featured in 2 photos. This one, and there he is. Teeny little Ash on the island, being held by Justine. I think we're ready to do this. Ready?
Ready. Say hi, Jordan.
Hello!
Jordan's here.
Yay.
Vinyl's here. Today is an aubergine vinyl day, isn't it?
Indies have aubergine vinyl.
This is an indie.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But this is black, just because it is.
No.
What?
There's 2 copies. There's the black copy and the aubergine. They're selling both.
Got it.
I don't know what copy that is.
This is the black. But I will mention that there's aubergine.
Oh, the download code fell out.
Uh-oh.
I have a feeling that's going to keep happening.
We're borrowing
There's-
this vinyl.
We are borrowing this vinyl. All right, let's do it. Let's
Yay.
Off to work we go. See you out there.
I will.
I should bring a water.
I'll get
There's.
one for you.
Yep.
Yeah, can you just grab one for me?
Yeah.
Right?
So 60, 75 in.
Probably that then.
Sure. Have
There you
fun.
go. I won't know what time it is because I've got no watch. But I have plans, and I'll let you know if it's
You want me
going.
to give you the 10-minute thing?
No,
Okay.
it'll be done when it's done. It'll be like yesterday. It'll wrap when it feels ready.
Good.
All right.
Where would we be without Haley? Lost.
All right, let's go do it.
Right. Let's go.
Oh, hold on. I gotta get a pic. I need to pee. Alrighty. Ready.
No, you go. Do your thing. I'm just gonna do this. There she goes. We are going to go the secret way. Shh, it's a secret.
I just wanted to say that we're ready.
She's right there. Yep.
Hi. How are your hangovers? Happy Sunday. Can you hear the ukulele? So I'm gonna play you a couple songs from the record, and then I'm gonna do something that I forgot to do at my in-store yesterday in Boston. Because fuck Boston. I mean, my hometown, I'm allowed to say that. I'm going to read to you guys from the book, because I just forgot yesterday. I'm tired. And then I don't have a lot of a plan. I'm going to just like play it by ear, and if you guys want to talk about stuff, it's a good time to do it, and we'll do that. There's only 2 ukulele songs on the record. I'm going to play you both of them. I'm a piano player, if you're not familiar with my work. This is my fake instrument. Hold on. Yeah, things are not always perfect. And it's okay. Yeah, I'm proud of you for being bad at guitar. Don't get any better. It'll just fuck you up. I've learned a lot of things to a lot of friends, like dresses and records and books. And a lot of the time, I never see them again. And in a weird way, I think that works. 'Cause the thing about things is they start to turn evil when you start to forget what they're for. So if you're not sure what you did with my sweater, I'll just have to love you a little bit more. I had a ring, it belonged to my grandfather. He was a mason and gay, and he was distant and bitter for all of my childhood. We never had much to say. He wasn't the type to give tokens of affection, so I stole the ring when he died. And 20 years on, when I lost it in a bar, I thought that's fine, I don't want him in my life. 'Cause the thing about things is that they can start meaning things nobody actually said. And if he couldn't make... My microphone is sinking. Slowly away from me. It's afraid. just glad I wasn't crazy. It's like, have I grown taller slowly? Thank you. Haley Rosenblum, everybody. Where was I? He couldn't make. I stole the ring. This is a true story, by the way. It's easy to remember. The plot happens in order. Think about things. Yeah, I'll just repeat it. The thing about things is that they can start meaning things nobody actually said. And if he couldn't make something means something for me, I had to make up what it meant. I can carry everything I need in one collapsing suitcase. I can carry everyone I love in one phone application built to maximize the FaceTime of the friends I'm bent on making. Actually, I want to be alone to mourn the loss of what it cost. I think it's a poem, and I think it keeps going. And I've borrowed and loaned lots of things. And 3 nights ago, in the bar where I lost it, the bartender gave me the ring. And I lay in bed with my phone in my hand, thinking, what can I fix with which app? And I call my grandfather, he doesn't answer, and I have to make peace with that fact. 'Cause the thing about things is that they can start meaning things nobody actually said. And if you're not allowed to love people alive, then you learn how to love people dead. The thing about things is that they can start meaning things nobody actually said. And if you're not allowed to love people alive, then you learn how to love people dead. the only time I actually read from this book, which also means I've never done it, and I have to figure out what I'm doing as I go along. But I was thumbing through it backstage and trying to figure out what would be a good bit to read you. And it's a weird book. I was just looking at it as if I was a stranger, and I was like, God, what a weird fucking book. It's, you know, it's not really any one particular thing. It's got lyrics in it, and it's got a lot of photographs in it, and stories about the songs, and I'm just trying to figure out, like, if you were just at someone's house and picked this up, what the fuck would you think of this book? And I'm not sure. It's pretty weird. But I did not write this to be a bestseller, you know? It's a piece of merchandise, and it's also you know, it's like liner notes, basically, but like 90 pages. And I've been doing all of these, you know, interviews about this record, and like I keep saying, you know, a lot of journalists are like asking about the book and why I needed to make a book to go along with the record, and I'm like, well, I didn't really need to do anything. And I think I'm beyond the point at this point of being an enigmatic artist. Like it's just never going to be like that. I'm never going to go off to the countryside for 4 years and then just emerge with a mystical album. It's just not the way I work. So I'm going to read you the last page of the long introduction. The introduction's like, I don't know, 10 or 15,000 words. And I'm just going to read. In all, I did 4 full-day photo shoots with Carmen Selesnik to produce what you see in this book. And we took hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of shots, which we eventually narrowed down to about 50. Nicholas Kahn pondered my stories, and he built and assembled objects and props that spoke to the stories. A doll, a wreath, a suitcase. And I dragged my own objects into the fray. A plastic skull that Anthony once kept on his desk. My beloved first ukulele. We'd also wanted to shoot somewhere off of our property. I talk a little bit about earlier in the introduction about me and Neil's house in upstate New York. Somewhere with a clear skyline where we could escape the claustrophobic tightness of the woods. For a second there, we had plans to shoot on the Isle of Skye in Scotland, where Neil has a vacation house. It's featured in the very depressing opening story in The Art of Asking. You've read that? Totally coincidentally, my maternal grandmother was born and raised there. Weird, right? Before she set off to emigrate as a young child to America by boat. That passage took the life of her younger brother and changed the course of my family's destiny. Neil's Scottish neighbors will happily tell you that his house is cursed. And they buy it. I think my ancestors had the right idea to hightail it to Brooklyn. And I found it hard to make my own peace with the place, so there was plenty of tragedy and meaning to mine, and plenty of photo shoot therapy to enjoy on those hills across the sea. But sadly, the logistics collapsed, and we decided instead to shoot on Cape Cod, where Richard Selesnik has a family house and a familiarity with the terrain. Nicholas headed there early and promptly got to work harvesting hydrangeas from Richard's yard and affixing them to an old wooden chair. "Your throne," he said when I arrived. Regina Harris, an astonishingly talented makeup artist from New York who was old friends with Carmen Selesnik, created makeup looks that she felt captured the narrative, and you can spot her with her face covered in some of the Cape Cod shots. She's wearing a golden dress, which she had no problem stripping off and loaning to me for about 15 minutes. And together, the three of us clambered up a sandy hill in Wellfleet, a tiny town near the very tip of Cape Cod. Nicholas plonked the hydrangea chair down on a hilltop, and we started to shoot. I remember I was facing the sun, head on, and the sun began to touch the horizon. And I thought, from the outside, this may look kind of ridiculous. 4 people on a lonely hilltop, a woman in a moth-eaten antique coat dress, sitting in a chair, holding a flower-festooned machete in one hand and a plastic skull in the other. And I also thought, this is perfect, really. This is where my life has taken me. The last time I had worn that coat dress was exactly 10 summers before, when Kyle Cassidy shot the cover for the Who Killed Amanda Palmer album in the attic of the Cloud Club. And actually, the woman who gave me that dress is here in the house, Elizabeth Freund, who just sort of gave it to me as a gift, and then it wound up all over my work. Now here I was watching the sun kissing the horizon, having gone through the trials of married life, motherhood, nursing a miscarriage, and a couple of abortions, and working through it all with my weirdo friends in the only way I and Neil know how. Make art. Make art. Make good art. And I started to cry, not out of grief, but out of a strange, profound gratitude. Gratitude that my life hadn't gotten any less strange or surreal since having a child. I had been deeply afraid that my life would become normal. Gratitude for the people who kept coming into my life, the artists, the filmmakers, photographers, producers, painters, the seekers. All the healers who work using cameras, brushes, and microphones as their scalpels, bandages, and tourniquets. An hour earlier, we'd been down on the fly-ridden beaches of Wellfleet, shooting photos on the shore as I held an effigy of my miscarried baby that Nicholas had constructed out of an antique doll and some fresh leaves from Richard's garden. I can't tell you exactly why it was so profoundly cathartic to hear Nicholas screaming, "Go, Amanda, jump! Yes, beautiful! Now throw that dead baby very high into the sky! Beautiful!" For me, that photo shoot was worth 100 hours in a therapist's chair. The very idea that my dead baby, who expired after about 10 weeks of residence in my womb, and I were great and beautiful, and that my little lost person was actually contributing something to this photo shoot, felt like closure to me. The writer Andrew Solomon speaks beautifully about how the worst moments in our lives make us who we fundamentally are. Trauma hits us, pain is dealt, and we can go one of 2 ways. We can either collapse in defeat and let circumstances crush us, or we can take the pain and forge from all its ugliness some kind of meaning. That meaning turns us into who we are. It builds our core identity. This isn't to say that you are defined only by your tragedy. Rather, that your tragedy can be the strongest springboard to becoming a bigger, deeper, more expansive human being. Or to put it simply, pain can make us bigger and better versions of ourselves. Forge meaning, he says, and build identity. And in each and every one of these photos, that is what I was trying to do. Forge meaning, build identity. On that beach, throwing that leafy dead baby effigy up into the sky, atop that hill, holding dead Anthony's old plastic skull and crying with gratitude to the sunset, on the front lawn of my unfriendly new house, stripping naked and reaching to find some expression of joy for the camera. on the beach with Alan, 3 months after giving birth, clutching a slipping machete, on the raft in the pond near my house, gathering and clutching Ash's toys, the ones he's outgrown, the ones that I was saving for the next child. Take grief, take sorrow, take loss, turn it all into art. Having the right collaborators and friends is critical. Ones who can help make that art happen, who can make it feel real, who can turn a photo shoot or a recording session into a sacred act of emotional rehab. I hope as you flip through these pages, you get what I mean. And remember, it's just a ride. You can understand, knowing a little bit about the circumstances of the record and what the songs on the record are, how deeply difficult it is to read the reviews. And I am happy to report they are mostly really fucking good. But it also has never mattered less, if you know what I mean. And part of that is just becoming a much bigger, stronger person. Part of that is actually drawing on a strength that isn't really mine. Part of that is the strength of my Patreon and knowing that there are 15,000 people out there who actually just want to support whatever it is that I have to say. Right? So, I don't take that for granted. Those 15,000 people don't need to be there bolstering me and holding me up, and they are. And, you know, all I have to do is read a couple of reviews by, like, snarky people who, and there have been a few really brutal ones. But I have a perspective that I didn't used to have reading those reviews, and that, you know, the usual theme in the negative reviews is generally not about the music. It's about me. And the questions posed in the reviews are, why are you asking us to care about your fucking feelings? And I'm like, because I'm an artist. That's become a really easy question to answer. And because I've toured these songs for 6 years, and I've watched people weep, I don't need you to tell me that it works. I know it does. Still hurts though. You think I'd shut their children from the way that they are talking, and there's no point in responding, 'cause it will not make them stop, and I am tired of explaining and of seeing so much hating in the very same safe haven where I used to just see how big I've been. longer exists, I keep forgetting to remember that he would have been much prouder if he saw me shake these insults off instead of getting better. I am bigger on the inside, but you have to come inside to see me. Otherwise, you're only hating other people's low-res copies. You'd think I'd learn my lesson from the way they keep on testing my capacity for pain and my resolve to not get violent. But though my skin is thick and certain spots can still be gotten, it is typically human of me thinking I am different to friends hooked up to hospital machines to fix their cancer, and there is no better place than from this waiting room to answer the French kid who wrote an email to the website late last night. His father raped him and he's scared. He asked me, how do you keep fighting? And the truth is, I don't know. I think it's funny that he asked me, 'cause I don't feel like a fighter lately. I am too unhappy. You are bigger on the inside, but your father cannot see. You need to tell someone, be strong, and somewhere some dumb rock star truly loves you. You'd think I'd get perspective from my view here by the bedside. It is difficult to see the ones I love so close to death. All their infections and prescriptions and the will to live question, can I not accept that my own problems are so small? You took my hand when you woke up. I had been crying in the darkness. We all die alone, but I am so glad that you are here. You whispered, we are so much bigger on the inside. You, me, everybody. Someday when you're lying where I am, you'll finally get it. Beauty, we are so much bigger than another one can ever see. But trying is the point of life, so don't stop trying. Promise. Me. There's a photo in this book that I'm particularly proud of. It's this one. And I'm really proud of it because my nipple looks all fucked up and I didn't know it when Richard was taking the photo. And I was like, in some previous incarnation of my life, I would have asked him to Photoshop this nipple onto that nipple so they would be good-looking nipples. But no. So this is a section of the introduction called Vanity. It's much shorter than the last one. I've been posing for cameras, using my fleshy body, sometimes clothed, sometimes naked, for decades. And it's only in this last set of photo shoots that I felt like I've truly hopped atop the wall of vanity and taken a good look around. My aversion to my own flaws. I can't use that. I look too fat. I can't use that. I look too old. I can't use that. I look too made up. I can't use that. I look too goofy. Has fascinated me since my first photo shoots with the Dresden Dolls. Feeling the strange, vain, insecure power that disorients and intoxicates. And getting to curate your image now in real time. A hobby that is available to anyone with an iPhone and an Instagram account. There are so many layers. And it's always a mask, isn't it? When you're the one controlling the filters on your face. Even if I'm naked, even if I'm not wearing any makeup, there's always saturation and contrast to tweak and make something look more flattering. And yet, what I've learned from years of songwriting and interneting is translated into photographs. Showing vulnerability can yield the strongest statement. Sometimes it feels more beautiful to show the sagging nipple than to cut the shot from the book or dare to Photoshop Mother Nature. To take what Leonard Cohen said a little more literally, sometimes letting the cracks and wrinkles show is how the light gets in. Truth is beauty. Babies suck on nipples, boobs sag, stretch marks appear, hair turns white, pubic hair turns white. White hair starts growing everywhere, even in places you thought you didn't even have hair. Challenging my own vanity through the medium of songwriting and photography feels like a powerful double-bladed sword. And the sword, like the mirror, is heavy, and lifting it is difficult on some days. I'm still unable to look at parts of my body and see them as truly beautiful. I try harder, and trying is the point. I cannot claim to be unvain, but I can still attempt to hold up a strong middle finger to the cultural mirror that wants me to find beauty only in one aspect of my reflection. So, here's the record. It looks so beautiful. It's this cover photo is by Alan Amato, and it wasn't supposed to be the cover photo. You know, there were all these, if you look at the rest of the artwork, there are all these like super theatrical, took weeks and weeks to plan. You know, like this was the main contestant for the album cover. We built a piano island. That's how complicated this photo shoot was. We built a piano on an island that is 8 feet tall with a lot of people wearing costumes and dead beavers and candles. Like, it's so... And then I saw this and was like, fuck it. I look beautifully powerful and naked, and I'm holding a sword. That's the cover. I don't know if you saw, there was a great tweet that came in yesterday. Someone shared something about the album, and you know, like they said something beautiful about the album on Twitter and posted the record cover, and some guy just posted one word: unsexy. I had a great time with him. Should I take, you guys want me to, thank you. Let's, you know what, I'll save a final song for like a wrap up. Why don't we do the Q&A now, and then as dark as it might get, I'll always have a nice happy ending song to take us out of the darkness, wherever we go. So, I don't really have there's no roving mic or anything, but it's a teeny room, so as long as you speak up, I can hear you. And we're also, we're streaming on Instagram. Hi, Instagram. So I'll probably repeat your question, just so the people watching can hear it. And you can ask me fucking anything you want. I have no agenda. I have already pimped my art book and my record. My work here is done. I had a really beautiful listening party in Boston last night, and this record and the songs on it are just like, I have a feeling that I'm going to have a very emotional year. I mean, people are telling me stories that I have not anticipated, even from within my own family. People are like coming out of the closet to me about abortions they had 40 years ago, and it's like, okay, it's going to be a cheerful year. I wouldn't have it any other fucking way, honestly, with what's going on in our country right now. So, ask me a question. Raise your hand. Be brave. If you're creative, ask me a stupid question. Yeah.
So, what music do you find comfort in?
Wow. Well, that's always changed. So the question is, what music do I find comfort in? While I was making this record, and in the lead up, while I was writing the end of this record, like the last 3 songs, The Ride and Voicemail for Jill and Death Thing, which I actually, like, those feel like the essential songs on the record now. I can't imagine the record without them. I took a lot of inspiration from and then found a lot of comfort in Nick Cave's last record. And I mean, I thought it was amazing to begin with when I heard it and I saw the film. If you guys have not seen the film about the making of that record, It's called One More Time with Feeling. And if you are any kind of artist especially, it is like a masterclass in how to be present and mindful while making art. And, you know, Nick Cave lost his son in the middle of a record, in the middle of writing and making a record, and then he just kept going. Not only did he keep going, he invited a film crew in to capture the process, which felt like watching it, you know, as the viewer there on the other side of the camera, like, it felt like the ultimate act of, on the one hand, maybe kind of survival for him to just keep on the ship of life, but like, there was an extreme generosity to it. You know, I just kept thinking, like, he didn't have to do this. He didn't have to do any of this, but he did. And that was before I had a miscarriage. And, you know, I talk about this in my stage show, so I won't do spoilers. I won't get into it, but it was a pretty heavy experience, and I did it alone. I was alone. And I found it, you know, sort of at once disorienting, but also very, very empowering. And I came out the other side of that with a kind of a new appreciation for certain things. And I would wake up when I was working on this record. I was really monastic. I rented an Airbnb in LA, and I just woke up, ate a healthy breakfast, went into the studio, went home and went to sleep, and like rinsed and repeated for 3 weeks. And I would listen to that record in the morning. And one of the reasons that the documentary is so beautiful is Nick Cave talks really openly about his own vanity, about how he kind of knows that these takes just don't really sound well edited or really that great, or that his voice is cracking, and he doesn't even know where the one is in some of these songs, and he's just kind of feeling his way in the dark. But to me, that is the biggest act of bravery as an artist that you can contribute. And therefore, listening to that record, knowing what you know, listening to that record and hearing his vulnerability is like, you know, feels like kind of a paradox, but it's strengthening, it's empowering to listen to someone be so vulnerable and brave. So that was my go-to record that whole time. I actually got an email from Nick Cave today, and he was like, "Thanks for sending me your record. I apologize that I haven't had time to listen to it yet. I'm in the studio." And I was like, and he's back in the studio making another record. This is what we do, right? Like, life just goes on. We literally work through it. If we don't, as artists especially, I think if we don't work through it, we die. I hope that answered your question. I went off on a couple tangents there. Yeah.
Hi.
Hello.
I go to music school. I'm a vocal performance major, and lately I've been feeling a little lost artistically, in that my whole life, whenever I've been feeling a certain way, I'm like, I feel like this, I'll go to this artist, I'll pick up this album. It's almost like an identity crisis in a way, figuring out who I am as an artist, what I want to do with it, and then being in music school, and our teachers be like, practice for this class, and then other students, fellow musicians, thinking they have this idea of what being a musician is and trying to put that on other people. Kind of loaded, but any advice?
I knew that's what you were going to say. No. I mean, I don't have any specific advice. How old are you?
18.
You're 18? You're fine. I mean, I didn't go to music school. My family had a rule about no art school. Like, I had to go to a good liberal arts college where I studied lots of things. You know, luckily, like a school that had good experimental music department, and I had my third eye squeegeed in many ways during my college tenure. But I've never been more unhappy in my life. Like, you couldn't give me all the money in the world to go back to 18. It sucked. And I was so disoriented and confused myself. I wasn't making any art. I just couldn't figure fucking anything out. I just put my head down for 4 years and tried to make my family happy, and I got good grades, and then I got the fuck out of there. And it's actually only in retrospect, because I deeply believe that regret is just a bad idea. Across the board. Just don't do it. It doesn't help anyone or anything. And, you know, I go back and I look at those years of my life, like those foundering, you know, I was also really antisocial. There wasn't a whole lot bringing me joy. I drank a lot. And I sort of look at those years and I'm like, well, whatever was happening, you were sort of cooking. Like, you were getting, you know, you just had to absorb whatever you were absorbing from your environment during those years to figure it out. So if I were to give you any advice, it would just be to, like, don't worry about it. You have you have all the time in the world, and it's not your job right now to, like, figure it all out. It will figure you out. And then one day you'll wake up and you'll have an idea and you'll just do it. And if you judge yourself too critically and you think you have to figure it all out now, like, you'll just be unhappy. And you seem so intelligent for 18. I think you're fine. Hang out with the right people. That's my other advice. Don't hang out with losers, and no junkies unless, you really have to, in which case just be really careful. Don't let them steal your shit. Right with the camera right there.
I saw you perform at the Beacon on Christmas.
Oh yeah,
That was
with Cindy.
So that song that you performed, can you tell us little details about that? How did you come up with that song, or where were you? Or
Which song?
The song that you performed there on the ukulele that night, that one song?
At the Beacon? Oh, it was In My Mind, I think. Or was it Ukulele Anthem? It was In My Mind. Yeah, I'm going to close with that. That song actually has a good little story, which is maybe related. I picked up the ukulele, I don't know, it's going on a long time now. It's embarrassing. I still don't play it very well, and I don't mind. I picked up the ukulele maybe 10 years ago, when I was solo and traveling around, and I knew a couple of chords. I only knew one Radiohead song for like 2 years, and I was really proud that I had this party trick that I knew one song by Radiohead because I had learned those 4 chords on the internet. Creep. I'm not going to play it. It's tired. I'm just like Tom York now. I'm like, I don't play Creep anymore. Can't go there. I was at a yoga retreat in Australia in maybe 2010 or something, and I got there a couple days earlier because of jet lag and stuff, and I was just hanging out in this very beautiful spot on Earth all alone, and the idea for that song came to me, and I wrote it, and looking back at me writing it, I was even a little embarrassed while I was writing it, of it. And the way I managed to write it while being embarrassed, because usually if I hit a wall of embarrassment or like, oh, this is just uncool or not quite me or not quite right, I'll just stop. But in this case, I kept going because I thought, this is embarrassing for me, but actually like all of the like nice, happy, hippie yoga ladies that are at this retreat will like this song. So I can play it for them and then for no one else ever. And I might as well finish it. I'm halfway through, so I'll play it for these nice, happy, hippie Australian yoga ladies, and then I'll be done with it. And then I wound up playing it for some of my fans a few weeks later in Australia, and they loved it. And then I had to turn into the person who had written that song, which was weird, because I kind of wanted to disavow that song because it was a kind of a happy, hippie song. And that's sort of what I was talking about. Like, sometimes you make the art, and sometimes the art just, like, turns around and makes you. And then you have to deal. Hey! I know you. What's up, Brett?
Okay, how do you manage being such an active artist in a committed relationship? Or is it taking up
Neglect.
artists so they understand?
So the question is, how do I manage to be such an active artist while being in a committed relationship? I wish Neil was here. I think it's one of those things where the rules are the same rules as within any relationship. Neil and I have a collection of covenants with one another where we really guard one another's freedoms to create, to be alone, to do whatever it is we need. And it's sort of embarrassing that we've talked about this before, so I don't feel like I'm outing him or anything. Watch me eat my fucking words. When Neil and I met for the very first time, we were in New York in the fucking basement of the Javits Center at some terrible Comic-Con. We were not attracted to each other. We were fascinated by each other. But the strongest attraction that ultimately really pulled us together and like opened our eyes up to one another was the fact that we saw in the other person a potential mate who would not hold us back. And we had both been in the relationships where we hit the wall, and our partner, it wasn't even that our partners weren't supportive enough or whatever, but we just couldn't, we couldn't do the things. We couldn't feel the artistic freedom. We couldn't follow our impulses. And that, if you're an artist, an independent artist especially, that can just crush you. And we're 10 years on now. No one thought this relationship was going to last. But that's like one of the main tenets, I think, of our relationship and why it worked and why it works, is we let each other, we try to hold up each other's work. Neil's been in London for 2 years working on a project that was supposed to take him 3 months. And we just had a kid. And I picked my attitude about that. I could have been like, fuck, you're fucking kidding me. You're going to stick me with this kid and go to London for 2 years and make a TV show with David Tennant. And I looked at it, and I looked at the look on his face, which was like, this is where the project is taking me, though. This is where the art is taking me. It's kind of out of my control. And I was like, I've got your back. And then I'm going to go on tour, and you're going to have my fucking back. Right? So, yeah, and would that every artist finds a partnership where you guard each other's artistic freedom, you hold each other up, and you don't judge, and you don't compete. Because it's so easy to do. It's so easy to fall into that. And you're so fucked if you don't have it. Now you have questions. Over here on the side.
I want to know about the interludes. I feel like the record, I feel like your interaction with Jarek, he protects the songs with the interludes. And I don't want to not mention them because they're so incredible.
Thank you.
All the things opens the record in such a magical way. It's almost like scary. How was that interaction? were you there with him through the creation? Did you give him the record?
The songs themselves, from the melodies and from the arrangements within the songs. And when John Congleton and I got together to make this record, we talked for a year on the phone, on email, about how to do it. And this process was really scary for me. I had never really made a solo record. You know, Who Killed Amanda Palmer was originally going to be a piano record, and then I gave it to Ben Folds, and he was like, let's do all sorts of crazy shit. And I was like, great, what? And he was like, how about this? Great. More strings, more guitars. How about a drummer? How about 9 million synthesizers? And then we just like, the record just sprawled, and you know, it was this fun, big, loud experiment that wound up really beautifully. And then The Theater is Evil, which was my Kickstarter record, I had a really specific vision. I wanted a new wave band making new wave music with new wave sounding drums and lots of synths and lots of horns and strings and all the things. And I could already hear it in my head. I could hear it done. You know, Mozart style. It was in my noodle. Like, it was all in there, finished, and I just had to figure out how to make those sounds. It was easy. And, you know, for the most part, that record came out 99% the way it showed up in my head, which is a testament to my band and the producer, John, who made it. And then when we went in to make this, I basically, you know, John and I were like, we want it to sound like a record, but it doesn't want much, but it needs things. Like, what does it need? And we both agreed on some rules, ground rules, no strings. Which was frightening, because strings are easy. Like, you can really use strings to make things sound more sentimental and more emotional. And we all know how to do it, and Jarek and I have done it for years. So we made that rule on purpose, because we didn't want to take the easy way. No band, no guitars, no traditional backline, not allowed. And then we were like, well, then what? I'm gonna do. And John's a real genius. If you guys are music fans and you're in a place like this, you probably know some of his work. He's made a couple of records with St. Vincent. He made the last Blondie record. He's also an incredible songwriter in his own right, which is important when you're working with a producer. And we basically built like a palette of sounds that became the language of the record. And there were two secret weapons. One was Jarek, who came in and had ideas about how to prepare the piano, and he put little touches of bass on things. And then the other secret weapon was this guy, Max Henry, from the band Sons from Montreal. And he came with a synthesizer rig, and we just literally built sounds from scratch and applied them like, you know, like a minimalist interior decorator putting like one bamboo stalk in the bathroom. We were just like, right. And meanwhile, Jarek and I thought it would be fun to do what we had done on the last record, which is to make an overture and an intermission, which we did on Theater is Evil, and Jarek killed it. And I was like, we could just take all these little bits of the songs, make an overture, make an intermission. Wouldn't it be funny? Ha ha ha, there will be no intermission. Look, an intermission, ha ha ha. And so Jarek sat down with me and I played him a bunch of themes. He put them into MIDI, and then he took them home and he started arranging all of these snippets that he was going to collage into one big overture. And he started sending them to me. And I was like, these just sound really good the way they are. And he was like, okay, but that's not the point. Like, we're going to put them all in one giant collage. And I was like, maybe we shouldn't. And it was a weird idea, and John was against it. He was like, it's too much stuff. Like, the record doesn't need that much stuff. And I was like, I think maybe it does, because this is a record that just it just punches you in the face over and over again. Like, it's just relentless, the darkness. Let's, like, actually give people a breather to get another drink and get a hanky while they're listening. And and it wasn't until doing these last 3 listening parties, I did the last one last night, that I actually felt like the practical application. The practical application of music. And I was like, after the abortion song, I listened to everyone in the room go like, ah. And then the music came in and everyone like shuffled around and like readjusted and wiped their tears, and then they were ready for the next song about 30 seconds later, and I was like, that worked. So I get, like, with a lot of things, it was sort of a happy accident. And, you know, this is a weird, very, like, it's a very practical record. It's almost like, you know, it's almost like a bunch of journal entries. It doesn't hide anything. And putting those in there felt like a kindness. You know, the same way when I do the stage show, there's a lot of extra talking and a lot of humor, because how the fuck else would I demand that people listen to 10 songs like this if I'm not going to make sure that they're laughing in between every song? Because it wouldn't be fair. I wouldn't want to go to that show. You know, and I like that kind of shit. So, thank you for asking that, though. And you know who would really appreciate that is Jarek. Jarek is a really incredible collaborator and musician. He worked his ass off on this record. And also has his own Patreon, so if you're not already supporting him on Patreon, his music is absolutely beautiful and he needs the support. I'll take maybe 2 more questions. So, hey.
So I am just recently decided to take an interest in the online court system. And I was just wondering, especially in like nowadays, like how do you feel like fighting? Because like Loki, I swear this is one step away, and like we can't do that.
So you're taking your rape case to court, and you want to know how you keep fighting. Look around you. Look around you. That's how you fucking keep fighting. All of these people have your back. Just remember this moment, and everybody remember her while she's fighting, and take the donut. Sir.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Just curious, what is your take on nudity in art and the way you're presenting it and why?
What's my take on nudity in art? Well, that passage that I read actually says a lot about it. I've always been pretty comfortable being naked, like since day one, and I'm pretty fascinated by everybody else's fascination with nakedness. And as a woman, you know, your body is such a paradox when you're a woman, and your body is simultaneously this like desirable object that you are supposed to sort of invite people to look at and enjoy, and also you're taught and you're told that it's really a source of shame. And just believe me on that. And you know, when I was in my 20s, I did a lot of nude modeling for art colleges and art classes for money. I was a stripper. I got paid a lot more as a stripper than I did as a nude art model for colleges. And I was also, I was also a living statue, very clothed. And at the same time, I was also a dominatrix, clothed. Like, dominatrixes don't take off their clothes. It's just not a thing. You're the one in charge. And I found that all really educational. And I didn't, you know, when the Dresden Dolls started, and also as I went into my own career, I tried not to take for granted that I was unafraid to use my body as a tool. And I mean, it's a weird tool, and it is one of the most misinterpreted tools when you're a female artist, because, you know, looking at a naked woman can be very frightening for everyone, women and men included, because it's very challenging. And when I was saying, when I saw that cover photograph possibility, and I looked at it, and I thought, what's so interesting about this photograph is that it doesn't look, you know, quote unquote, to like refer back to my Twitter friend, it doesn't look like it's meant to be sexy. And I loved that. I was like, this really is just a picture of a naked woman who's standing there strong, but it's not like a Victoria's Secret come fuck me look. It's a, like, this is just what's on this record. It's kind of a naked record in a sense. It's not very adorned. It's not, you know, it's very direct. And I'm not sure I would have chosen this tack, and I would even like have chosen this book and chosen this dressing for this record if it hadn't been for all the things that were simultaneously happening when I was making this record, which was the Me Too movement, and literally Kavanaugh. While I was in the studio, we were all like watching the Kavanaugh hearings, and I just thought, this kind of bravery, just like my ability to be shameless like that, will always be misinterpreted by some. But in the cost-benefit analysis, I think it's more helpful than it is harmful for me to stand up and say, I can do this without shame. You know, and maybe you can. Maybe you want to. Maybe you need to strip naked right now. Just kidding. You're good clothed. You're all good clothed. But yeah, like, you guys feel it in the air right now. The truth's fucking infectious right now. Women telling the truth are infecting and intoxicating other women all over the world. And if we're gonna get out of here, that's gonna be our exit door, because, you know, women are an unstoppable force when they support one another and they tell the fucking truth. So, I think that's probably a good place to end. And on this note, I'm going to play one more song for you. I'm going to go sign a fuck ton of records and books if you want. And if you don't support me on Patreon, you should. That's how and why a record this bizarre actually was able to get made. And it's just, I'm writing my speech for South by Southwest right now, and I've created a fictional amalgam character named Steve. Steve from marketing, who I haven't had to talk to in order to get my record made. Fuck Steve. He just never got it. But you know, there's a bigger point in there to be made about crowdfunding and women. You know, women have always had to go through the middlemen, and they've always been men. And even getting signed and authenticated by Roadrunner Records, I needed to sit there on Broadway in board meetings with 11 men to try and convince them that whatever I wanted to do with the Dresden Dolls was worth spending money. And I usually couldn't convince them. So it's not really a coincidence that I decided to skip that whole step and go straight to the people who I thought were interested in what I had to say. And it's working. In my mind, in a future 5 years from now, I'm 120 pounds, and I never get hungover because I will be the picture of discipline, never minding what state I'm in, and I will be someone I admire. And it's funny how I imagined that I would be that person now, but it does not seem to have happened. Maybe I've just forgotten how to see that I'm not exactly the person that I thought I'd be. And in my mind, in the faraway here and now, I've become in control somehow. And I never lose my wallet because I will be the picture of discipline, never fucking up anything. And I'll be a good defensive driver. And it's funny how I imagine that I would be that person now, but it does not seem to have happened. Maybe I've just forgotten how to see that I'm not exactly the person that I want to be. And in my mind, when I'm old, I am beautiful, planting tulips and vegetables, which I will mindfully watch over, not like me now. I'm so busy with everything that I don't look at anything, but I'm sure I'll look when I am older. And it's funny how I imagined that I would be that person now, but that's not what I want. If that's what I wanted, then I'd be giving up somehow. How strange to see that I don't want to be the person that I want to be. And in my mind, I imagine so many things that aren't really happening. And when they put me in the ground, I'll start pounding the lid, saying I haven't finished yet. I still have a tattoo to get that says I'm living in the moment. And it's funny how I imagined that I would win this winless fight, but maybe it really isn't funny that I've been fighting all my life. But maybe I have to think it's funny if I want to live before I die. And maybe it's funniest of all to think I'll die before I actually say that I am exactly the person that I thought I'd be. Fuck yes, I'm exactly the person that I want to be. Thank you so much for coming in. Can I have a hand for Rough Trade for having us in our house today? And for as long as I need to sign stuff. Also, reminder, my show in New York on this tour is April 20th at the Beacon. And it's my first time playing the Beacon solo, so please come and tell people and bring people and spread the word. It's a fucking frightening, giant, giant theater to fill. And share the record with the people who you know might like it. Give it to your enemies. But I mean, I'm still an indie. I'm still a word-of-mouth artist. I actually need you to go ham, sell this record, people, and convince them that it's worth listening to instead of just watching cat videos. So go forth and do it. And I love you. Thank you for being here with me. This was really amazing. Thank you.
You are now live.
Oh, because it's oh, is it real? I think it's real.
You just gotta tune it.
You just have to tighten these up.
Yeah, I have to tighten them. I think I might need to replace the strings. They're very soft.
No, they're real. They're real. These need to be. You need to get a screwdriver in
Yeah.
Mostly this is a wallpaper issue.
Yep, that's We're at Rough Trade. Amanda's signing a tiny ukulele.
A teeny tiny ukulele. Like this, it's made for a Smurf.
And then a fantastic artist, Vlad, came. He made these art prints and gifted to Amanda.
And some vaginas, of course.
Oh, wait, I definitely want one.
Vagina. Here, you take this vagina.
Thank you so much.
A lot of vaginas.
I'm gonna get out of the photo. So we're wrapping up the signing line. Let's go.
Go down the line and talk to
That's what I was about to do. Hi.
They're just waiting.
Hi. It's Amanda's Instagram. Introducing everybody in the remaining line. We're now in hour 2, 3, who knows anymore. Still so many wonderful people here. I'm gonna go this way. All these people. All these people. Aha, we found the end of the line. That's all these people. And now we gotta go back. So I'll show you some records. Also, we have a beautiful, you can see in the back, a poster in Rough Trade in Brooklyn. In the back by the stairs promoting Amanda's album. And she just did the in-store. And now it's the rest of the line again. Excuse me. Thank you. There's Michael. How you doing, Michael?
I'm great.
Now you're on the other end of the Instagram stream.
That's true. I was holding the phone throughout the rest of the stream.
Yeah. And you can still see the broadcast that we did of the show on Amanda's feed after this ends.
I think I shared it correctly. I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
But if I didn't, I'm sorry.
Yes. Amanda is doing photos. I'm taking photos. People are really wonderful. And we're playing Nick Cave now, because actually that's how you can tell time now. So we finished playing the record, and that's about 80 minutes long. And now we're about halfway through a Nick Cave record. There's Nick Cave watching over Amanda.
Good fucking luck.
Oh, someone's wearing the same hoodie as you, Michael. Oh, I should show me. I'm wearing my ampersand shirt.
Yeah.
Nice.
There we go. Representing Amanda everywhere we go.
Of course. The penguin ampersand.
Penguins.
I know.
Okay, that's enough of me. Everybody.
Such a great store.
The story, yeah,
It's awesome. I love it here.
Very nice.
Oh yeah, all the Rough Trade people massive props.
And we can spy on Jordan,
awesome.
Amanda's manager, right there buying more albums.
Yeah.
He's in New York from Australia, and he's doing record shopping.
I was expecting you to come from
And there's Amanda. Yeah. Yeah, it's been basically 4 or 5 consecutive days of really early mornings and really late nights. But it's amazing.
Tattoo.
Oh, cool. You'll have to send us the final tattoo.
I just finished writing Jubilee Street. I lay down on my bed and fell into a deep sleep.
Hey, Michael, if you take my phone, I'll take a picture.
When I awoke,
Thank you.
I believed that
Haley in her natural habitat, taking amazing photographs.
our feelings were frenzy searching high and low.
The behind the scenes of the behind the
In my
scenes.
dreams,
Seriously.
I was very young. I said,
Yay.
where do you
Typography.
Mm-hmm.
My side hustle. Yeah.
The big wall, all the. There will be no intermissions.
Brooklyn, that will not be fucking hard. Ask the denizens of Roof Trade, they'll probably help you.
What's that?
all this in her dark hair? All this in her dark hair.
Well, it depends which establishment.
I'm gonna go spy on Jordan. We're gonna go spy on Jordan.
Last night,
Say hi to everybody.
scattered up the wall. With fire. It leaped like a black spider between your legs. You cried. My children.
And here we find the Aussie manager, his natural habitat, buying vinyl. We're doing another Instagram live.
All this in her dark hair.
All kinds of great vinyl. If anyone is ever in Brooklyn and you haven't been here, you should come here because it's awesome. Sexy vinyl. Some awesome people in line. All the books, lots of books, all for sale. They're so pretty. The beaver, skull, candles, Justine and Ash, the burly workmen, piano. It's up on a pulley, you can't see in the picture, and the awesome piano. I'm gonna go back and give this to Haley.
Anything is possible.
Anything is possible.
It's the behind the scenes of a behind the scenes behind the scenes.
Thank you so much.
Rough Trade for everyone tuning in Brooklyn, New York. Wrapping up the last of the signing lines. Yeah, the signings are very special because a lot of people get to meet Amanda, some for the very first time, and they get things signed, but they also share stories and talk about how certain songs or moments in Amanda's art have impacted them, and it's always beautiful to help out.
Yeah.
Yes, anything is possible.
Yeah, but sit around and just talk to people.
I mean, the likelihood and statistics of possibility vary depending on the thing that you would like to happen, but you know. I think we've been here signing now for almost the almost 2 hour mark has been hit. Epiphone ukulele. I think that it's not that it's exhausting to take pictures and hug people. I think that this is part of what gives Amanda a lot of her energy to keep doing what she does. It's because this is the human element, and this is the reason, at least my interpretation, the reasons of why she does it. Oh yeah, Amanda is exhausted. I'm exhausted. I think why I'm rambling a little bit. It's been beautiful. These listening parties that we've done, it's been beautiful. It's the human connection and people behind everything.
Japanese.
Show that
Polaroids. Nick Cave record. You know which Nick Cave record, Michael? They usually have a now playing sign, but they left Amanda's record on the now playing sign. Jordan, you know which Nick Cave record's playing?
Yes.
Yeah, Push the Sky Away. So. Yeah, Amanda's gonna. I want a picture of this. Could you? Sorry. Sorry, thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michael, for the assist. Hey! I know,
Assist and?
Exhausted Haley is really like something else, right? Honey.
Where did Amanda get that cool jacket? I don't know.
I think it might be a vintage coat.
Vintage coat? Yeah?
I think so. She's had it for a long time.
Sorry,
Someone came up to her and said that that they liked her coat because she looked like a pirate.
Yar.
It just needs to be. Are you okay if I take a picture?
Did a whole belly project. Well, those boots are pretty. Those boots are fairly new. Andrea got those boots, but I don't remember exactly where they're from. You can. It's live. Just yeah. I don't know if they're official docs or not.
Yeah, you did.
Oh,
That's a good one. That's a good one. That's what I think it's.
Cover of the vinyls up close. Yeah, real quick. It's gonna be final and all kinds of cool stuff.
Pro tip about these signings, they may not know. So you see, there's all these post-its, right?
Yeah.
The post-its are a trick to help the signing line go faster because it has the spelling of people's names. So if your name, for example, is Mark with a C, you can just write Mark with a C, and you don't have to be like, oh, it's Mark, but with a C, and, you know, or if your name isn't an obvious spelling. Or if your name is Haley and you want to make sure you get 2 I's in the signature.
Instead of an I. Amazing people, patient people at the end of the line, quickly approaching. Hopefully we're not outing anybody who's actually supposed to be at work. It's a Sunday night, so. Rough Trade. We are at Rough Trade, Brooklyn, on 9th Street, New York City. Where's the, oh yeah, right up there. Rough Trade. Rough Trade.
The trade is rough.
And the people here are amazing. Everyone who works here is awesome, and we love them.
I like standing it on the top of the thing.
What time is it? It is just about 6 p.m. on Sunday night.
Oh my gosh.
I know. Poor Haley. Haley's got an early flight in the morning.
Where am I?
Yeah.
Trade.
More hugs. Look at that. Happy album release week. That's right. Oh, did you show them the poster?
I did go up close to it, but I showed it from afar.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna take you over to the big poster and give you more of a close up because it's awesome. So from far away, you have that. But since this is 2-dimensional, you can't quite see quite how big it is. So I'm gonna go up a little bit closer. Turntables, very cool, and cassette radio. How cool is that? So cool. Oh, here, I'll do a little plug for Rough Trade. Follow us at Rough Trade NYC on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter because they're awesome. If you don't know about them, you should. There's also a Rough Trade in London. Very, very cool. I'm gonna go over and check that out. Very, very cool. I can't get closer because there's a chain here, but it's huge. And it's coming to our office when we're done, which is gonna be really cool. Signings in Europe, we are going to see. Signings are going to be dependent on curfew because this is a long show. The shows themselves are going to be almost 3 hours. No, Neil is not holding the phone. I am not British. I'm also not as awesome as Neil. But signings both in the States, back to Haley, and Europe will be dependent on travel and curfew and a couple of other factors. When we can, we will, but for this tour, we can't guarantee signings after all. Yeah. But yeah, what brand is Amanda's uke? The one that she's playing right now is a Tiki, T-I-K-I. But there are also, she might be trying out some other ones. She got some really great ukuleles from this company in Ohio called Amahi, A-M-A-H-I ukuleles. You should totally check them out. They're gorgeous. and they sound great. So I'm not gonna film people. 3 hours. I don't know how she does it. It's been great. She really, really loves all the people. Signings in Boston. I don't know. We haven't totally sketched out the tour yet, but we're working on it. Yes, she's coming to California. She's doing a show in San Francisco and one in LA.
May 10th and May 11th.
Yes. Thank you, Haley, for the assist. May 10th in San Francisco at the Warfield. That's right. It was at another place at the Warfield, and then LA at the theater at the Ace Hotel. Yep. Australia, yes.
You may want to save the beginning of 2020 if you're in Australia.
Yeah,
that's all I know.
Australia is being worked out for
the first quarter
of 2020 because we can't say winter even though we're in the northern hemisphere. That's your summer.
Yeah.
Germany. Oh. Man, go to nointermission.amandapalmer.net. There are a lot of shows in Germany.
Offenbach, I'm going to mispronounce it. Was it Stuttgart? Stuttgart, there we go. Berlin, Munich.
Yep.
In Austria, there's Vienna.
There's Vienna, yeah, and Weiss, I think that's how you pronounce it. W-E-I-S. Not in Dallas. Sorry. I'm also standing.
Anything else you want to
in
hear?
the way.
I think that's it.
Drab Majesty.
Okay.
Cool.
Got 2 full albums.
Yeah.
Dallas, no, but we are in discussion about round 2 in North America.
Can I have this for a moment?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So if you are in the Austin area, pay attention to Amanda's social and Patreon feeds because there's a bunch of things happening that could be open to the public. So, for example, Amanda was just announced as playing the Brooklyn Vegan Daytime Showcase on, is it Friday the 15th? Is that a Friday? I think so.
Yes.
And you can RSVP on Brooklyn Vegan's website, and it depends on capacity, but you don't need a badge. And we're working on a couple other things, and Amanda may even be able to do a giveaway to her headlining show. So this is Austin for right now, but more. Oh, hi, Neil. Oh, no, Amanda hates writers.
What?
No, I'm kidding. Neil asks, I wonder if she likes writers.
Oh, writers.
No, she loves writers. She had nice things to say about a particular writer tonight. Neil, I should introduce you to Amanda.
Yeah, you're right.
She's so sweet.
And we're approaching the very end of the line. We're in our second hour of signing and the third record playing over this.
No, this is Francine DeVita, who has taken many, many, many photos of the Garfield.
Neil is watching now.
Hi, Neil Gaiman.
He wants to know if you like writers.
Oh, okay.
Do I like writers? It depends what genre. Not so much into like sci-fi, fantasy, fiction. I like inspirational non-fiction memoirs.
There's a plethora of writers to choose from.
Just kidding. Love your work, Neil.
Do you have a website that Amanda's Instagram followers could check out your work?
I have 2. The last one is Francine LD.
FrancineLD.com?
Actually,
Or-
FrancineDream.com.
FrancineDream.com. Cool. Well, it's good to meet you.
What's your name?
I'm Haley.
I've heard your name first.
Probably. Amanda tweets about me a lot.
She wanted to come herself, but she's not feeling great.
Amanda's show is in Toronto. Again, I think Michael mentioned we don't know if there's any Patreon events or any meet and greets or anything like that just yet because we're still planning all of it. But my best advice is to follow Amanda's Patreon blog because that's where all the details will be announced once we know what they are. Hello. You spelled my name right. This is very awesome and appreciated. the right print on the table says Rough Trade. It's the photo op because we are at Rough Trade, as you can see. And like the shirt, Rough Trade. And the bags that people are holding. It's the name of the record store.
Yeah, right? Like, Cyrus said the other thing.
Yeah, if everyone asking about tour stuff happening, my best advice is to follow Patreon because all that will be announced. And each venue is different. They have different curfews. They have different policies of how late you can stay. And the shows that Amanda is performing is quite long. It will run about 3 hours without any opening acts. So it may vary venue to venue, but we'll share details as soon as we have it. And if you're on the Patreon in a tier that allows guest list, we'll absolutely hook you up. This is the very, very end of the line. In fact, now I'm now on the end of the line. But I didn't buy a record today, so I have nothing to get signed. And you still see a lot of people in the banner in the back by the stairs. And what's cool about Rough Trade is this is the record store part, but in the back is a venue, and the venue's walls are made of these shipping containers, which is very cool. You can kind of see. Oh, I just hit my back into this. You see it's still shaking. Ouch. The things you do for webcasts. So the post-its are so that people can get their names signed and spelt correctly, and it helps make the line go a little bit faster. And so you can see a bunch of gifts on the table that was gifted to Amanda. If you don't have a credit card or PayPal, if you use, and pardon me if I'm mispronouncing, I'm very late, like in Germany I know they use the debit program. Patreon might allow that payment option, I'm not quite sure. How many markers did Amanda go through? Well, we brought a bunch of silver markers from Amanda's apartment in the Cloud Club. And some of them are kind of old, so she went through a ton of those. The books are gorgeous. They're shipping out very, very soon if you order them online. We hustled and got rush order some books for the in-store so that Amanda could sign them. Amanda's jacket. Amanda has many pictures on her Instagram in this coat, so you can take a look. And in her, I believe in the last State of All Things, we had photos from Kyle Cassidy in Philadelphia of Amanda in the snow. I think she is wearing this coat. It's very gorgeous in it. I don't know if that's the jacket Neil gave her. What is my favorite album that she's released? That's very difficult. I've been a fan of Amanda's since the first Dresnell's record. So I like a lot of her music. And I found myself singing along to the record while it would play during the signing because we just did all those listening parties, so I know it quite well. Nick Cave. All right, we are about to get to the very last person. Sorry. Thank you. Have a good night.
Okay.
You're the last person on the line. You win a prize. You get to have your record signed by Amanda.
No way.
I know, it's 1 in a million.
Again, just don't touch it for a second.
You have a good night.
We did it! Signed 8 million records. Hooray.
Yay! Thank you, Rough Trade. Thank you, Rough Trade staff. You all rule. Thank you, everyone on Instagram. We'll see you soon.